Hey YouTube, it's Magician34, and I got a deck I've been wanting to post for a long time. It is the result of one of your Choose the Deck uh, video competitions, and it features Ocean Dragon Lord Neo Daedalus. This is just an awesome kind of card to build around. He's part of a very unusual family of cards that have the ability to send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the grave. That puts them in a really exclusive kind of category. Because there are only a handful of cards that have that effect. Now, there are ones that may say destroy, but send is different because it's not nearly so easy to stop. Obviously, destruction negation effects can stop other things that threaten to blow up the field. This guy's in the same category as things like Chaos Emperor Dragon for his ability to just send things. But what distinguishes him from Chaos Emperor Dragon, Huge Revolution, and Sky Scourge Norlaris is the fact that this guy will leave himself on the field when he uses his effect. So when he sends everything on the field away, you're the only one with any cards, and you have a 2,900 point monster on the field. That's better than, say, inflicting damage. That's better than, say, drawing a card afterward. It's really just a fantastically powerful effect. Now, if you've got one of these, especially from the original deck, like all of mine are from, they are the misprint. He has been errated, and you can only special summon him from your hand by attributing Leviadragon Daedalus. So the deck does have 3 copies of this guy, and obviously to get him out, we're running 3 copies of Leviadragon Daedalus, but Daedalus is a really good card in his own right, and he can do that thing where he sacks Legendary Ocean and blows the field, albeit on a smaller scale than Ocean Dragon Lord. But still, we're running 3 of him to go get that guy out. And remember, this guy is 7 stars, so with Legendary Ocean out, he's actually 6, so he's only a 1 tribute monster, essentially, for our purposes. That's the core of the deck. We are running 2 Warrior of Atlantis, because he's obviously because he's a monster, whereas terraforming will always just be terraforming. This guy has other options. So we're running 2 of him to go get Atlantis. We do have one other tribute monster. We're running 3 copies of a card I actually really like. Also, part of the reason I'm really loving this deck and think you should totally try it out. Suijin. This guy has the ability once when he gets attacked, he can drop the attacker's attack stat to 0. Boom, just drops it to 0, makes it 0. That's amazing, and even though he can only do it once, very few people are going to attack into him and take that hit, which will either be 24 if he's in defense or 25 if he's in attack mode, and then the destruction of their monster on top of it. And Suijin is conveniently 7 stars, so he's really a 6-star monster, so he's sort of like a summoned skull that will never ever get attacked over by a bigger monster, essentially because of this effect. So that's just awesome, too. We have 2 copies of Treeborn Frog, and lots of ways to get him into the grave, so we really don't need the 3rd. Speaking of ways to power him out, we run 3 copies of Swap Frog, of course, because Swap Frog is Treeborn Frog's best friend. I think they were college roommates or something. And we've got 1 copy of Ronin Toadine, the other thing Swap Frog loves to throw into the grave, and great tribute fodder kind of material. We have 2 copies of Dupe Frog, mainly because this guy is so good in the early game. The 2 grand defense is really useful, especially on turn 1. And he goes and searches for frogs, which is really something we want to do. We have 1 copy of Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. For myriad reasons, but basically just because he's a big beat stick and he can help power your tributes. And 3 copies of Battle Fader for similar reasons. As you may have noticed, our monster base primarily exists just to power out our big tribute monsters. And even if you don't have Legendary Ocean in hand or don't feel safe playing it, you can easily get 2 tributes onto the field in this deck to do it. But just so you know, basically your whole point of this deck is to get out your big boss monster, your Ocean Dragon Lord, because if you can play him with Legendary Ocean and fire his effect, that's basically winning the game. So anything you do before that should really just be leading up to it. So you play it like a combo deck. It's not an aggro or even necessarily a control deck. You're just trying to get to your optimal game-winning situation, which is getting your Ocean Dragon Lord Neo Daedalus out. And firing his effect, of course. We also run 2 copies of Effect Veiler. It's the end of our monsters. That's just a little bit of control to keep things from going weird, going pear-shaped. On our spells, we of course run 3 copies of Legendary Ocean because this is your preferred Umi card to use with Neo Daedalus. We have 1 copy of Foolish Burial because Foolish Burial equals Treeborn Frog or Ronin Toadine. Either way, that's good. One more way to consistently get that stuff out. This deck is mad consistent. Really is very good. 1 copy of Monster Reborn. 1 copy of Dark Hole. 1 copy of Heavy Storm because getting back rows out of the way is pretty important. And speaking of getting back rows out of the way being important, we also have 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, and it can be a good set. Plays well with Treeborn Frog, who's one of the stars of the deck. We run 2 copies of Creature Swap. All your frogs like to be swapped to the other side, and obviously especially Treeborn. We're not overdoing it though because it's not really capitalizing on frog is not necessarily the point of the deck. We're still trying to focus on getting the Dragon Lord out, and Creature Swap doesn't always play well with our big tribute monsters, so we're only running the 2. We have 2 enemy controllers because that plus Treeborn Frog can do some cool tribute shenanigans. Another reason you might not want to play Legendary Ocean is you can use your big 7 stars as ways to essentially remove monsters from your opponent's side. So even if you have a Legendary Ocean, picture this, hang on to it, bring back Treeborn Frog, enemy controller, steal one of your opponent's monsters, bring back your Treeborn again because it's still your standby phase, tribute both for your 7-star monster so you effectively get rid of your opponent's monster, then play your Legendary Ocean and do all that. If you'd had it out before, you would have just had the 1-star monster. Of course, you could always argue, well, but you could have gotten back to Frog the other way. But, it's all good, but basically that lets you conceal your Legendary Ocean if you want to play it that way, and you still get rid of their monster and all that good business. So, food for thought. We also have Pot of Avarice, because obviously we put a lot of monsters into the yard and we want to recycle them and draw cards. And we're running 2 copies of Spiritual Water Art Aoi, because it's a great card to set with Treeborn Frog like in defense on your field or running Toadine, and it's a no life point payment confiscation. It's awesome, especially because this can easily become the target of an MST, to which you can just chain. So that's the whole main board. The extra deck is very, very flexible. Only a few things are sort of must-have, so feel free to toy with it if you want. We do have 1 copy of Mistworm. Legendary Ocean allows you to sync and Xyz in weird ways, so you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at these choices. We have 1 copy of Stardust Dragon. He wasn't necessarily a knee-jerk inclusion, but I ran him because protecting things from destruction could be fairly useful in this deck. We have 1 copy of Scrap Dragon, 1 copy of Thought Ruler Arcfiend. There are still a few Psychics running around, but his on-target ability can be really good, especially if you just blew the field. So he can be useful. I thought he'd be worth inclusion. Ancient Sacred Wyvern, because our tuner is light. Kungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, because we have plenty of water monsters. Ancient Fairy Dragon, he's a good defender, which can be nice for this deck in case you need to get a few cards, or draw the right card. But also, he can blow up field spells and then search for your own field spell, so I thought that merited an inclusion. We have Allied Justice Cataster, Formula Synchron, Black Ship of Corn, Maestroke. We're running 2 copies of Gachi Gachi Gentetsu because 2 is easy to make. We also have Dark Mist because you can even go that way. And last but not least, we are running Galaxy Queen. With Legendary Ocean, it's not hard to make her, and she has a very powerful defensive ability. So I thought that would be nice to play with. So anyway, there you have it. You have Ocean Dragon Lord Neo Daedalus, the deck. It's a really cool deck, lots of fun. I suggest you check it out. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool gaming content.